afternoon, friends, and welcome back to Mountain Patriot Homestead. I don't know what your weather is doing outside your window and door today, but here on the mountain it is a rainy day. It has set in and we've got probably several inches. The ponds are completely full. Runoff is going everywhere. The clouds have settled down here on top of the hill, and it's just, some people call it dreary. I think it's beautiful. Glad I'm not out in it right this moment. That will come later when it is time to feed. But right now, I'm going to do something that I'd promised y'all here a while back that I would do, and that is discuss a little bit about planting by the signs and by the moon phase. Now, when I'm talking about that, in case you didn't catch my previous video, that was an introduction to the Farmer's Almanac. What I'm using is the Old Farmer's Almanac, the 2023 edition, and I have got it laid out here in front of me, and I am turned to the page that is Planting by the Moon's Phase, and it is talking about how you plant by the moon cycle. Now, this is an old way of planting. It, in my opinion, is a very good way of planting. My daddy used this method to plant by. Always had a beautiful garden. I try as much as possible, as my schedule allows, to plant by the moon phase, and I have to say that I am not disappointed in it. It is something that has been used down through the ages, and you know, if it doesn't work, I'm all the ignorant for it because I think it does, so it works for me. Now, what do you do if you don't have a Farmer's Almanac? Well, you can go online and look up Almanac, I can't say it, but you can look it up, Almanac.com. You can pull it up online. Of course, some things you have to buy. You have to get a subscription for if you want to get into some things. But I find that I can get a lot of information off of Almanac.com just by logging into it, and I can get pretty much all the information I need there. Or again, I am old school. I like books in my hand, so I have the book here in front of me, and I have some pages that I have downloaded here in front of me from the website. But first of all, planting by the moon phase, there's some things to consider when you're planting by the moon phase. I can't just say, okay, the phase of the moon is right now, I need to run out there and plant things. Well, what if it's in the middle of winter? Like I said, it's raining here today. Friday, they're calling for another round of snow for us. It'll be snow number 9 for us this winter, not counting the little ice storm that we had. So you can't just run out and plant just because the phase of the moon may be right. You also have to consider frost dates and that sort of thing anytime you're planting. And that is where I find that the online section for the Almanac comes in so handy. Like I said, you can go to almanac.com, and it's almanac.com/planting dates, and you enter your zip code of wherever you live, and it will give you a printout that looks like this that you can use to help narrow down when you can plant in your area using the frost dates and the moon phases, which I find tremendously helpful, and I do use this. As a matter of fact, I've got some seeds that I need to get out really soon, and just a couple of, well, as a matter of fact, I've got some stuff I need to get out this week. that can get started so I can have seedlings to put out here in a couple of months. But the first thing that you can do is if you have an almanac, look to see where you're located in the U.S. on the map, and that will help narrow you down. Now, for me, it says that I'm in Area 1 by the map. However, I have to also consider where we're at. Our altitude plays a little bit different, and it throws us into Area 2 just because of the added altitude and the cooler temperatures that we have here on the mountain. So I have to adjust it a little bit because of our location. But if you want something that is more specific for your exact area, go online to almanac.com/planting dates and enter your zip code, and it will give you a list of days that you are specified for your area. Let me give you an example. If I want to, well, here we go. I want to plant bell peppers, and I want to start them with seeds indoors. So my planting dates with frost dates are February 8th through the 22nd. Now that's a wide span there. Well, I know that it's today is the 8th, as a matter of fact. This is February 8th, but I know I've got some cold weather coming Friday. So I don't want to put out anything anyway, because even though I've got a greenhouse, it's an unheated greenhouse. So I do have a little propane heater I can run in there, but that's just to keep it barely above freezing. So if I do have anything sprout, it doesn't freeze, but it's not enough to really kick off things growing. So I don't want to really plant anything right now with the frost date this early. But when I look at the moon phase for that same bell pepper seed, it says February 20th through the 22nd are my perfect days by the moon phase. So when I look at this and I see the frost dates are the 8th through the 22nd, and then the moon date is February 20th through the 22nd, those days, the 20th through the 22nd, will be my target dates for getting out my bell pepper seeds. Now, many other peppers are going to fall under that as well. And so if I have similar peppers, if I have banana peppers, if I have even my hot peppers, and I want to get them out, it's going to be very similar dates. So that is that's fine to go ahead and use that for them as well. But it's really easy to use this whole printout and follow. But that is if I'm planting from seeds. What if I start them from seeds and they get up and they're getting big, and now I want to transplant them into the garden? When should I transplant them into the garden? It has a list for that as well, because there is a moon phase for that. And it also gives me the frost dates, which for those same peppers, the frost date, my pepper, my puppy here keeps hearing her name and she keeps jumping up because she thinks I'm talking to her. But the same thing applies for those bell pepper seedlings. When they get ready to transplant into the garden, I have to look at frost dates. And my frost dates are April 27th through May 11th. Again, gives me a good span of time. But if I want to narrow it down and look at the moon phase that falls in that same amount of time there, it gives me the moon phase of April 27th through May 5th. It's a narrower window of time, but if I want to hit that perfect transplant time during the moon phase, then I need to get it in during that time. But that's still, you know, it gives me a week in there to get those pepper plants out. So it's the chart is really easy to use, and it has it for spring and for fall gardens. I enjoy planting a lot of fall plants as well, and I really like fall planting because a lot of the bugs that you have, squash bugs and all that kind of stuff that you have a lot of problems with in the earlier part of the year, you don't have as much problem with later. I'm sorry, normally I don't have to edit these videos like this, but for some reason my fireplace in the background decided to go to some loud commercial all of a sudden, so I'm having to edit just a little bit in here. But what I was saying is that a lot of the bugs that you have during the springtime have, during the heat of summer, they kind of go away. And so a lot of the things that you had problems with in the earlier part of the year, cabbage for instance, where you have the cabbage beetles and that sort of thing, you don't have as much problem in the fall with them as you do in the spring, or I don't. So you do the same thing with fall planting. You look on here, but now in reverse, you don't have to worry about what's the last frost date of spring. Now you have to worry about what's your first frost date in the fall. So I look on here, and since I was talking about cabbage, it tells me that when I need to start my planting, and it is pretty much based on frost dates for the fall garden, because you're really working against the clock there. But it tells me that if I want to plant cabbage with seeds, I have to have the seeds in the dirt by July 3rd, and I need to get them outdoors by July 31st. Very narrow period of time there. So like I said, you're really working against the clock when you're doing a fall garden, but there's still a lot of things you can grow. And I have a lot of plants that will grow, even some of my spring plants and early summer plants that I get in the ground, they'll go right up to frost, and until I get a heavy frost. Some of them will produce through those few light frosts that you get at the beginning of the fall and into the fall and winter. So it's planting by the moon is really not a difficult thing to do. And even if you choose to not use the Almanac to plant by the moon phase, you can do the same thing, print it off, and use it to plant by the frost dates. You're gonna have a good garden one way or another. The only way you won't have any produce is if you don't try, if you don't plant anything. If you don't put any seeds in the ground, you're not going to grow anything. That's just stands to reason. So you've got to try. And I know that a lot of folks, I was going to have some planting catalogs here in front of me, but you know what planting catalogs look like. I know a lot of folks say, well, I don't have room for a garden. I don't have a big garden. I live in town. I live in an apartment. I live somewhere where I don't have room for a garden. I don't have time for a garden. If you can't plant anything but in a paint can or a 5-gallon bucket or a mineral tub or whatever you can plant in, you can grow. If you get these mineral tubs, I'll try to get a picture of a mineral tub one day and show you, because I grow a lot of things. I've got a garden, but I also grow a lot of things in containers and mineral tubs. And mineral tubs are just those big plastic tubs that minerals come in, hence the name. that livestock eat out of, that, you know, they get the minerals out of it. But I drill holes in the bottom of it, dirt in, seeds in, plants in, and you can grow a lot of stuff in one of those. If you put a few of those out on a patio, if you've got the corner of a balcony and in an apartment that you can put a container in and plant if you plant nothing but tomatoes, peppers, and basil in a pot together and string them things up to where they grow up, you can provide for your table. Now, are you going to be able to feed a family of 10 off of a 5-gallon bucket? No. But are you going to be able to offer some fresh produce? Yes. And some is better than none. You know, that's just easy math, folks. But if you can plant anything, it's a good learning experience. If you've got children, I remember as a little bitty girl out there poking little seeds in the ground, you know, with my mom and dad, and, you know, especially following in Daddy's footsteps. Whatever Daddy was doing, I was doing. And they would give me little seed packets, and I would go out there and I'd plant. They'd have me a little garden, and I'd plant me a little garden. Kids love watching things grow. Let them plant something. And if you can't do it in anything but a bucket, that's okay. You've got to start somewhere. So if you can get started planting, I would encourage you to do so. If you don't know where to get seeds from, I know a lot of folks shy away from gardening because they think it's too expensive. Gardening doesn't have to be expensive. Now, if you want to go spend the best money on dirt and the best money on containers and the best money on gardening supplies, and you want to spend high dollar for gold seeds or whatever, you can. I mean, that's an option. But you can also get you a little bit of dirt, and if you go to check in your area for seed libraries or seed swaps, go online, call your library. Your libraries, again, they are such wonderful sources. I know I say this in many of my videos. Use your local library, call those folks, ask them questions. Usually they are such a wealth of knowledge. And I know our library in the area, we've got, I'm fortunate enough, I've got a little library in the county I live in, and then a larger library in the county I work in. And both of them are wonderful. They have seed swaps and seed libraries, and normally there are just people around you that have seeds available if you just ask. If you see somebody that's growing something and you want to know, hey, do you have any seeds left over from that, or where did you get your seeds? A lot of times people will just offer you seeds. But let me tell you another trick, and this is something that I've used. I've used this for my sweet potatoes. I used this for my sweet potatoes last year. I went to the store, bought 4 sweet potatoes. 4. That was it. I brought them home. I put them in a little container about this big, little container, little dirt out of the woods. No fancy dirt. Dirt I got out of the woods. Laid the potatoes down in it, kind of scooted, I mean, you don't have to bury them, kind of scooted the dirt up around them, little water sprinkled on them, and as the slips of the sweet potatoes grew, I harvested those slips, stuck them in a glass, rooted them, and that's what went in my garden, and that's what I got my sweet potato harvest from last year. 4 sweet potatoes, enough sweet potatoes to last me for 2 years. I mean, that's it. If you want to grow beans and you can't afford to go buy a bunch of seed packets, do you have any beans in your cabinet? Try growing a few of those. If you want to just see if they will root at all, take a little paper towel, put a few seeds in it, wet that paper towel, roll it up, Leave it for a few days, see if they start growing roots. If so, they're viable seeds. Throw some in some dirt and grow some beans. Same thing with many of your other peppers and different stuff like that. There is a lot of things that you can buy at the grocery store that you use, that you eat, that you can get seeds from and grow yourself. Now understand, some things, many things that you buy in the produce department are some type of hybrids that may not grow true to the vegetable or fruit that you're eating. However, a lot of things will. So all you can do is try it, see what grows. You can find videos that show you all different types of ways, and we may cover more here if anyone is interested in that. But I'm going to close for today. I hope to get more into, as I start planting, I'll take you along for the journey on some of this. I don't want to bore you to death, but I'll show you a little bit of what I'm doing. If you're interested in learning more about it, if you'll comment down below, let me know what you think. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, if you would go down there and hit that subscribe bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for joining the Mountain Patriot Homestead family. I'm glad that you're here. I know you have so many other things that you could be doing, and I appreciate you for joining. If you have anything else that you would like to see on this channel, if you would let me know what it is, I will see what we can do. But also, if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. I'll do my best to answer. I hope everyone has a great evening. I love y'all. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.